Hi, I'm Brandon with Gana Trucking and Excavating. I'm coming to you today with another short training video. Today we're going to talk about something that we use on a daily and frankly an hourly basis here at Gana Trucking and Excavating. We're going to talk about lockout, tagout, our policies, and some of the procedures we use in making sure we're doing things safely. Now, lockout, tagout covers a lot of stuff. The thing you immediately think of is mechanics doing work on an engine to prevent the engine from starting up while they're underneath it or something like that. That's certainly a big part of it, but as we're going to go over, lockout, tagout expands into a lot of different areas that people who aren't mechanics and who aren't working on an engine or something like that will still encounter on a fairly routine basis here. Essentially, there's two functions, two things, two bullet points that you got to hit when you're talking about lockout, tagout, and that's preventing the startup, preventing the release of energy. Could be anything. An engine startup, that's one of them. Spring loaded, you got to lock out springs if there's a chance that the spring could fire. Gravity, if you take off a piece and that means the bucket's going to come down, that's something you got to lock out too. But the preventing the startup or the release of energy, that's the lockout that we're talking about. Now the next thing is making others aware, noting it. That's the tagout portion. We have a lot of different ways of doing that. We have magnets you can put on doors and things like that. The easiest way that we found, and we have all kinds of these, if you ever need more, just ask, we give them to you, are steering wheel covers. When you start working on something, hold the keys on it every single time. That's the lockout for the engine and things like that. Put them in your toolbox, put them in your pocket, depending on what the situation is, and then put this over the steering wheel. That's the tagout. Don't ever work on anything with the keys in the ignition. Okay? If you're a mechanic or if you're going under it out in the field to check something out, just pull the keys, put them in your pocket. It's that simple. You don't know who's going to come in there in the next 30 seconds and think, well, I got something to do with this machine, hop in, fire it up right away. It's never happened to us, but it could happen, okay? Just pull the keys and it's that simple. Another important thing to talk about is where to find lockout, tagout procedures. Every piece of equipment has its own set of procedures to lock it out potentially. There's a couple places you can find that. We've made it as easy to get to as we possibly can. It's in paper form and binders in each shop. You can go look at it there. Also, if you go to our website, ganatrucking.com/LOTO, that's ganatrucking.com/LOTO, it stands for lockout, tagout. Every single piece of information we have on lockout, tagout procedures, specific to each type of equipment, you can find there. You don't need any sign-in, you don't need anything like that. You just go to that website and they're all on the listing there. You click on it and it brings it right up, okay? Now, if we do have a piece of equipment that we don't have those specific procedures on there, it's the best place to look outside of there would be the user manual that came with the equipment. Sometimes we don't always get the user manual that comes with the equipment because we buy some used equipment. If you don't know how to lock something out and you can't find the procedures anywhere, simply ask. Stop, don't do any work, ask your manager and we can sort it out. We'll get a couple people to take a look at it if we have to figure out the best way to lock it out. That little bit of time it'll cost you is well worth it in the end if something were to go wrong. Okay? We do have a couple devices for specific pieces of equipment. On our straight trucks, when the box is up in the air, we have locks in each shop and they're on some of our service trucks as well to put there so that the box can't come down. Don't ever, for any reasons, ever go underneath a box when it's up in the air like that. For our buckets on our loaders and things like that, or booms and things like that, a lot of the manufacturers now are putting in the devices, they're installed on the equipment. So all you gotta do is take out a pin, swing it over the hydraulic arm, repin it, and it's locked out. Manufacturers have done a great job of doing that over the last couple of years. That doesn't mean everything does. So we have these available in each shop, different sizes, but essentially this is our lockout, tagout device for buckets and things like that in the air. It's a piece of angle iron with some tabs on it that we can run pins through. We have those out there. We're going to go outside in a moment, give you a real little demonstration of how those can be put on. Okay, so here we are. We're going to give an example of one of the things we talked about while we were inside involving the angle iron to lock out the booms or buckets, whatever it may be with the hydraulics here. Now, first thing we did, we went inside, pulled the key, put that in your pocket. put the steering wheel cover on. We also have magnets that we use. We talked about these on the inside too, to put this out. That's the tag out. That's letting anybody who approaches this machine know that something is going on with it and that they can't just fire it up. They need to start asking some questions if they need to use it so we can get it rectified, okay? So let's say in the event you can't put the bucket down to work on it. You can't put it on the ground. It needs to be up in the air. Those big pieces of angle iron we showed you inside, that's where this would come into play. Obviously, I'm not using one of the bigger pieces. This is just for instructional purposes. It's a little easier for me to handle here. What you would do, lift this where you need to do it, and then take one of those pieces of angle iron, place it right there, and then you would put the pins right through there so that it stays in place and it can't fall off. Now what this does, if this would fall, it won't be allowed to go very far because that angle iron is going to catch it and it'll just keep it suspended in air, okay? Now a lot of them, and I don't see it on this one, but on most skid loaders like we talked about on the inside too, there's actually manufactured lockout devices already on them. They'll have a piece of angle iron or something very similar to that. Usually here you can just unpin and swing down and then repin, and there it is. The manufacturers have gotten up a lot on that, where they just start including it when they design these things, okay? Okay, out here we got another piece of equipment we're gonna go through now. A couple things on this. If you were to be working on the bucket, you just saw us go through a bucket that you have to work up while it's in the air. In most instances, this is the best way to do it. Whenever you can, this is the easiest and most sure way to get it done. Just lay the bucket on the ground. You can't possibly go anywhere that way. So unless you absolutely have to work with the bucket in the air, just put it on the ground and be done with it, okay? Because that's the most foolproof way to ensure that this thing can't come down. To go up here in the cab, to lock it out, first thing we would do, pull the key, put that in your pocket or any other secured area. Again, we have these to cover up our steering wheels. That's the tag out, and if you're feeling really overzealous and you have any with you, put that somewhere so that before they even enter, they can see that something's going on with the machine. If you have magnets and you have the steering wheel cover, use both of them. They don't do you any good sitting in your pickup or in your toolbox anywhere like that, or sitting on the floor in there. Put them up so that we are communicating to anybody who comes by that there's something going on with this machine. They can't just start it up, okay? And it's as simple as that on something like this. All right. Okay, so here's something we were just talking about inside is the spring-loaded energy you got to be aware of. Our biggest concern with that here at this company, the thing we're going to run into most, is on our tarp arms. There's a spring inside of there that when it's cocked and loaded, there is a crazy amount of energy released all in one moment. And when it goes, there's nothing that anybody here is going to be able to do about it, okay? You won't have time to get out of the way. You won't be able to fight it off. It's just going to go, okay? Right now, this tarp is covering the load, so there is no energy on it, okay? But if it were open, I'll take a step back here. If it were open, the load would be uncovered. There's going to be a lot of energy on it. You're going to work on it then, specifically on the tarp arm. You would want to tie that down to the frame of the truck or something like that, okay? Just so that it's secured. Sometimes you have to release the tension. That's where a come along is very handy to have, so you can walk it back gradually. Controlled is what you're after there, okay?